Ed Rushman, Whitestone Journal, heading out to work. Talking about the death penalty. This is going to be very quick, I hope. I had a question this morning that I saw on, why are people so attached to the death penalty? I think that people are really, inside, I do believe that people are created good. And they have desires that are good. They have desires for love, desires for justice. And I think that it really is born out of the desire for justice. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying, at the base, that's what it is. We have a lot of good desires that we fulfill in bad ways, or we fill in ways that don't fit the circumstances. Back 2,000 years ago, I don't know. Maybe there was no way to hold a murderer and keep society safe. But really what that brings us to is, what's the objective? Is the objective to take vengeance, which is, in the person's mind, a form of justice? And I'm not going to argue that they're completely wrong. Yeah, there's a certain justice in lex talionis, in taking revenge, in an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. And I won't do the Gandhi quote here. But why do we reject that? We reject that partly because the objective has to be to protect society, not to somehow get revenge. It has to be to protect society, not to seek death for death. We can never seek the death of another intentionally, unless that's the only way to protect the innocent. And for people that are on death row, that is not the only thing open to us. We can just keep them there. We could convert all the death rows to regular prison. Just keep them in the same place, and that's fine. And end all executions. Under a Democratic president, I would like to remind you, there were, I believe, 62 people on federal death row. None of them, well, he commuted 2 at the end when he was going out of office. But there's 62 people, as I understand it, that are still on federal death row. They're not going to get out. They're not going to get, not out, they're not going to get their sentences commuted because nobody wants to do that. Even if they say they're against a death penalty, they don't work according to their conscience. All right, but I digress. The point is that if the person is not a danger to society, if we can keep them in prison, then by Catholic teaching, yes. By my own personal thing that I've come to over time, yeah, they're not a danger to society. You can't take life. If you respect life, you can't take it when it's not needed. And there are times that life will be taken, not because we want to, but because to protect the innocent. But boy, that's really rare. And it certainly is not the case with capital punishment. I do know people that believe that police officers should never shoot anybody, and if somebody's murdering somebody else, they should just let them do it because it's too important not to take life. I respect their opinion on it, but I think it neglects the life of the victim, and I do think that there's a certain priority that if I have to risk someone's life to save the innocent, to risk an aggressor's life to save the innocent, personally, I think that's acceptable. Under some moral systems, I think a lot, it's considered acceptable. But capital punishment as practiced in the United States is not. Okay, and then the other thing is, a 1/3 of the people on death row right now, not federal death row, I don't know about that one, but for the regular state court stuff, 1/3 of them are, how shall I say, it does not line up with the demographics of the United States. So there are some groups that are overrepresented on death row. There are certain groups that are overrepresented in abortion. It's the same thing to me in a lot of ways. It's de facto genocide. But the primary thing, it's easy to get off the subject on this. The primary thing is it's wrong to take life except when it's in the course of protecting the innocent, and that there's no alternative, or that's what's needed to protect the innocent. And those cases are more rare than we care to admit. And given that, death penalty in the United States does not meet that measure. People are attached to it because they still want justice, and they don't feel justice is served by somebody continuing to be in prison and eat, because they probably don't understand how bad it really is to be in prison. I've thought about this a lot, and being in prison on a life sentence is unbelievably bad. I don't know what else we can do. We have to protect society, but if we can keep people out of prisons, I'd sure rather do it. For anything. It's just but you have to protect society. So it's this horrible thing. We've got to do some things sometimes that don't make us feel like very nice people. Anyway, I hope that helps answer the question. I do think it's a desire for vengeance, but rather than judging the people that are against capital punishment or criticizing them, we need to help them see that we are not necessarily able to execute justice as well as we might wish. And when our justice is tainted with hatred, anger, a desire for vengeance, then it's better to put that justice, what we think is justice, aside and do something that is less tainted. It's better to do things with pure motives, and that's not easy for us to get to, but we have to try. Anyway, sorry I tried to be brief. Ed Rushman, Whitestone Journal. And hopefully somebody at the American Solidarity Party will see this. Hi, Mitzi.